Public transport lockdown regulations have been eased, but under new conditions, with local taxis now being permitted to load up to 100% capacities. All taxis, though, have to sanitize before and after trips. All public transport vehicles have been ordered to keep windows open. Transport Minister Fikile Mbalula also warning that failure to adhere to the rules will be a criminal offence. But how will government monitor compliance? Let's bring in Gauteng Transport MEC Jacob Mamabolo, who's joining me by Skype from Johannesburg this afternoon. MEC, great to have you on the program. Let's begin then with that very question of how you will enforce the implementation of these regulations or adherence in a taxi industry where there are thousands of vehicles on the road at any hour.
Well, firstly, thank you very much for the opportunity and greetings to all the viewers. Let me confirm that as a province, we are ready to implement the newly announced regulations that will govern the current period we're moving forward into. And we have had a very successful meeting with the taxi industry last week, Thursday, in which we agreed that we are going to establish at every taxi rank in the province what we call the taxi rank COVID-19 support committees. These are committees that will be led by a taxi rank manager, and the taxi rank manager will be supported by taxi rank marshals. And this program will actually do the following things. It will make sure that sanitization, enforcing the mask, wearing of the mask, cleaning of vehicles, social distancing, opening the windows to the extent as stated in the regulations, all these compliance issues are checked, enforced, and monitored at every taxi rank. So these committees will give us good human capacity to make sure that these things are no longer done in an ad hoc way, in an informal way, on a voluntary basis. But they are now more formalized because we will be giving them at least a stipend to make sure that these activities do not depend on them doing it out of just goodwill. Secondly, we have a partnership with CSIR, and we all know that CSIR is the one that is supporting the efforts of COVID-19 with smart technology. And we are very fortunate that they've designed an app, which is essentially a reporting tool that will be in the hand of every taxi rank manager, who will report all the compliance checklist items every day, every minute. They will be reporting, in which we will get accurate scientific data per taxi rank. Where there's non-compliance, we'll be able to intervene. So remember, we have been doing this work since alert level 5. We have been recording everything. Today, I can tell you quite confidently that about 34 million commuters passed through our sanitization program in public transport since alert level 3. And this includes buses, train, and everybody. But all I'm saying to you is, and a big part of this is taxis, and of course data coming from taxi ranks. So as a province,
without cutting you off, my apologies. The issue with public transport is, be it at a bus terminus or at a taxi rank, enforcement at that level would be much easier, of course, than monitoring things like passenger numbers in a vehicle at a particular time on whatever route, and compliance with this new stipulation that every taxi has to open windows to some degree to make sure that there is enough air coming in along the drive. How will you deal with that?
Yes, so I was actually going to that point to say there are two issues with taxi operations. One is that you have got those taxis that move from taxi ranks with loads. Enforcement there through this taxi rank support committees is going to be, it will not be complicated. There are those set of taxis that pick up people on the road, and they never really come from taxi ranks. They're moving around. Those ones, I can assure you, yes, there will be a challenge, but we will make sure that with the taxi rank, with the taxi leadership, the law enforcement agencies, both, remember that the taxi industry have got their own squads whose value and importance has not been that well optimized. So we have seen, even with the road safety programs we did with the taxi industry last year, we are converting their resources, their vehicles in taxi squads to be on the roads to make sure that they also enforce this compliance. But I can assure you, law enforcement, the taxi industry combined with commuters, these three components will be able to give us a better result.
And of course, we've been told that the taxi industry is now being allowed to load on local trips at 100% capacity because the industry would die if that wasn't allowed, and that there's been consultation with experts on the safety of doing this. In Gauteng specifically, at a scientific level, how closely will you be monitoring possible COVID-19 spread on public transport routes, especially taxis which are loading at full capacity?
Well, the program that we are running, firstly, let me just say that the announcement made by, firstly, the President of the Republic, and then it was confirmed by Honorable Minister Fikile Mbalula yesterday in the afternoon, both have actually emphasized that this was not just a thumbs up, it was something that was based on scientific tests and scientific based on scientific reasoning. So to that extent, at a provincial level, we will not be casting doubts and aspersions on what has been announced. Our task is exactly the point you're making. We will be enforcing compliance through the processes and the systems. And as I said, technology, we have mobilizing people to be formal on this and no longer informal. We have law enforcement. So our task in Gauteng is not to be casting aspersions on that. Our task is to work very hard and even much more harder in partnership with the taxi industry, with our law enforcement agencies and members of the public to ensure that all the compliance issues of basic health and hygiene, wearing masks, and all other issues are complied with. So to that extent, I can assure you and all the listeners, the viewers at home, that we should be able as a province to enforce. But remember, in the taxi industry, with a very bad culture that we have in the past, there are always people who take chances with the law. There are always rogue elements that will not comply. But I can assure you that will not be the norm. It will be the exception. And that's where law enforcement, our interventions and the technology we're putting in place should be able to help us. So at this point, I want to appeal to every driver, to every taxi operator, and all public transport operators in the province, and to all the commuters, that together as partners, and as the President says, fighting the spread of COVID-19 is in each one of us' hands. So let us not point this way, that way. Let each one of us say, I'll play my role as a commuter, as a taxi operator, as a driver, as a taxi rank marshal, as a public transport operator, law enforcement, including media, including everybody. There are platforms where these things will be exposed.
Very briefly for me, please, MEC, would you agree, though, that in order to be able to test the merits of this decision where safety and stopping the spread of the infection is concerned, special scientific attention should be paid to the trends, even if it's not in Gauteng, perhaps even at national level?
Well, as I said, that from where we're looking at the matters, the directive has been given, it has been clarified and explained, and it has even been explained to the point of assuring all of us that this is based on scientific data, evidence, scientific considerations. So as I'm saying, and I'd like to emphasize this point and make a plea, let us go and do one thing and one thing only. And that thing is, let us all work hard to make sure that the pronouncement that has been made, we give meaning to it and not spend time casting aspersions going this way, that way. One line, one single action, hard work, and let's implement.
Gauteng Transport MEC Jacob Mamabolo, good to speak to you, sir. Thank you.